coming down. I never left it on the ground. I'm not coming down. I wanna go higher, higher, higher than this.
Hello, this is Rebecca Fleetwood Hession, host of the Badass Women's Council podcast, and I'm glad you're here. So before we launch into the episode today, I'm going to give a little context in setting up this episode. As I think I've shared before, I am the parent of two kids, a 17-year-old daughter, and my son will be 21 on Monday, actually. And through my parenting journey, I have done things a little bit different. I have believed in parenting the kind of human being that I wanted my kids to grow up to be and didn't put as much stress and pressure on grades. And I've taken a little flack for it, as you can imagine, because some people believe that if you don't push your kids to get into the right school and do the right things academically, that they will struggle. And I do believe in education, wholeheartedly believe in education. And I also believe that each child has unique talents and gifts, and oftentimes our traditional school system doesn't allow those unique talents and gifts to be rewarded. And sometimes I think by the nature of not getting rewarded for those things early on, kids are afraid to use them because they don't see their value. And today's episode is with Ava Wettrick, and Ava is a podcast host herself, and she's also a high school student. And as you listen to Ava, she's unique. There's no doubt. She's using her gifts. She's extremely self-aware. But there are several things throughout this episode that I found myself thinking, my goodness, if we would give kids an opportunity to chase some of their ideas around earlier, I think it would have a dramatic impact on their sense of confidence and meaning and purpose. And I don't know, I just get really passionate about it. I had a meeting with some friends this week where we were talking about how to support our teenagers and our kids in this regard. And it's just an area that I think we have got to start paying attention to. The depression, the suicide rates, the challenges that and pressures that our kids are under these days. You know, we really have to ask ourselves, are we modeling the right things for them? Are we modeling stress and pressure? Or is the expectation that that's just how life is? And if you're not allowed to use your gifts and talents and really be who you are, aren't you depressed and not feeling like there's reason in your life, purpose in your life? I don't know. I just get really upset and passionate about this topic. I'm rambling now. So I'm going to get on with the episode. But I just wanted to give a little bit of context that if you are parenting, maybe it's time to stop telling and start listening more. Maybe it's time to start hearing our kids and hearing their passions and their dreams and their talents, and letting go of that illusion that there's a normal or a right and wrong way, and let some of their gifts and talents and passions lead you. So, okay, stepping off my soapbox now and launching into an amazing episode with Ava Wettrick. Here we go. Hey, Ava, how are you today?
Excited and honored to be on.
Oh, well, thanks. So you are a fellow podcaster.
Mm-hmm.
And I found you, if you will, on LinkedIn through some work that your dad was doing. But I am just so excited for you to be here and share your journey. And I think it's important. I don't do this with any other podcast guest, but I think it's really important for you to share your age.
Oh, yeah.
That's not how I open up. Hey, how are you? And by the way, how old are you?
That was a secret. No, 17, going on 18 soon.
Oh, how soon?
January.
Awesome. I can't even imagine what the birthday party is going to be like for you on your 18th.
It's
But
not.
and I say that because the work that you're doing and the influence that you're having at 17 years old is astounding. And I don't use that word lightly. I really do. I am so impressed by the work that you're doing and excited for you to share your story, because I have a 17 and a 20-year-old, and I feel like I was kind of in the know about what's happening with teens and young adults. And you saw some things differently and said, I want to reach out and help. Tell the story about how your podcast started and what it's about.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess story-wise, 7-hour car drive, right, with my dad down to Quincy, Illinois for one of his speaking gigs. Soon to be, I didn't know, my first speaking gig. He threw me up on stage last second. It was fun. But on the way there was some celebrity gossip on the radio. And my blood was boiling and I didn't like it. And I turned it down. I'm like, Dad, this is what's wrong. This is what's wrong with kids. He's like, what do you mean? And I go on to explain. I'm like, it's just shallow and self-promotional, and they don't want to help the world. And this doesn't make any sense. Why do we want to listen to these people? Because the people that I grew up with, Navi and Jane, Simon Sinek, all these phenomenal.
Now, I told you
beings.
we refer to Simon Sinek as
your
boyfriend. Okay,
your boyfriend.
Yes,
so
thank you.
I mean, he's your boyfriend. All of these people that I grew up with, they genuinely wanted to help the world, and they wanted to make sure people were better off, because they wanted to be better. They wanted to grow. They wanted to help the world. And I was like, Dad, why don't we know about these people? Why don't kids know about these people?
Mm-hmm.
And there is no answer for that. We just don't know. They don't exist unless you're curious enough to go find them. But that takes a whole nother mindset and framework, especially at that young of an age.
And not everybody has the exposure to things like your dad as an educator and also as an influencer himself. And you're trying to take that story and say, I want to create this opportunity for everyone.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, I mean, it's not a way of saying like, oh, screw these people that are trying to make a lot of money. No, it's about helping people and making sure that they live the best lives that they can live. Because, I mean, if you want to get, I don't want to say a little sappy, but if you get a little into the emotions of it, into the depths of it, I want to make sure that kids know that life doesn't have to be like it currently is. Depression rate, the anxiety rate.
Share some of these statistics, because we talked about this. This is important. A lot of people don't realize that this is the reality. We hear the stories, but the stats are staggering. Yeah,
the suicide rates among young people, especially millennials, higher than ever. 85% of kids my age, so teens, are diagnosed with anxiety, and 60% of which also have depression. And it's really awful. Mm-hmm. And, you have to ask why they got there. And I know specific instances are them, they're specific, but at the same time, I genuinely believe that it's a lack of purpose and it's a lack of meaning, and they don't know what to do with their life, and everything that they're guided towards is wrong, and they're confused, and they're channeling that energy, that creative, and that mind. They're focusing it in the wrong way, and so it's just painful.
We talked about this earlier. Is you get these thoughts in your head, and what you feed grows, and when you don't spend a lot of time out interacting with other people and having meaningful conversations, you just start to ruminate some of these thoughts and beliefs, and it's a downward spiral.
Well, yeah. I genuinely, and I don't say this a lot, I don't say this on the podcast, but genuinely, I believe that if I wasn't on the track I am now, I would not be in a good spot, because I know that I'm very self-aware, and I know how big of a thinker I can be. And that can easily be shifted in the wrong direction.
Oh my gosh, just pause for a minute, because this is big. And this is one of the reasons I started this podcast, and the reason that we call it reflection and connection. Because reflection has a good side and a bad side, right? So you need to be self-aware. You need to make sure you're assessing your mindset. And you can also take thoughts and create head trash out of them that just sends you into a bad place.
Definitely. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was in a very cynical mood a couple days ago, and I was like, none of this matters. I'm doing nothing. But I'm not, and I know I'm not, because I've gotten the progress, and I've gotten the reports. I've gotten that feedback of it is a good thing, and it does help.
But it is true. Even though you get that kind of affirmation, which has been amazing. You can read your recommendations on LinkedIn and know that people are saying great things. But in those quiet moments when you're just alone with your thoughts, oh my gosh, it's amazing how quickly they can just start to spin.
And that's the toughest part. But at the same time, you have to, and again, I'm not perfect. Not saying I've done this. I'm working on it. But you have to develop this confidence in this. It doesn't matter. I know I'm doing good. It doesn't matter if it's nothing right now, but I know I'm doing good, regardless if no one's watching.
and you know why you're doing it. You have a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of maybe some of your peers who are doing YouTube channels and things like that, which I still think is a courageous act. I don't even care what you're selling or what you're doing. Just to courageously put yourself out there, I'm for. But you're taking a different spin on that and saying, I'm putting myself out there because I want to send a message that I think is going to help others and expose them to things that they may not have had exposure to before.
Yeah. I mean, and not only that, it's not only is it the exposure, but it's a great one. A lot of people end up, I mean, at first you're going to be confused and hurt, and you're going to have to grow. One of my favorite stories is how a lobster grows, right? It feels uncomfortable. Yeah, it feels uncomfortable, and it has to crawl under a shell and, molt and come back out. And it's a bigger, stronger lobster. It's awesome.
But it's a painful experience, right?
It does. And you have to feel uncomfortable to do so. So taking these kids and making them feel a little uncomfortable. And that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to do a mastermind course. And I just figured out a great way to do this, consistently asking questions. I can do a 5-minute lecture and be like, okay, so what's your environment look like? Because that's one of the focuses. What's your environment look like? Well, I just hang out with friends and I'm on my phone a lot. Why? And, just really pressing down. And, but after that uncomfortableness, you can feel so much more alive and free, like that lobster does. So, and giving them that freedom, that love.
And helping them think through it. You're not giving them the answers, because the answer is going to be different for everyone based on their circumstance, right? You're just asking the challenging questions and the context and the why to help people imagine something different than what they currently have.
Exactly.
Which is the key to getting people to help themselves out of the situation, not giving them the answers.
And the best part is they think it's their own idea, because it is.
It is their own idea, right? You've just pushed them out of their comfort zone.
Yeah. Like, I love my dad. But when my dad tells me to do something.
So you really are in some ways a typical teenager. That makes me feel good.
I mean, yeah. Well, honestly, if you think about it, because I was talking to my friend about this, I feel it every day. So I'm a very, it sounds kind of like cocky when I say it, but I'm a very self-aware person. And there's times where I can quite literally feel a clash of brains, because I do have this adult mature brain at times. I have this adult mature brain, and then I have this teenage brain, and I can feel it. I legitimately feel it colliding a lot. And then what am I going to do in these situations? So it's
That's
fun.
An actual thing, because my son is 20 and he's a songwriter and a musician, and I've always called him an old soul.
Yeah.
And he, from the time he was very young, would say things to me like, Mom, and his like you, his language, his vocabulary, his thoughts are very advanced, but he would say to me, Mom, promise me that you'll remember what it's like to be a kid, because we can't lose that. We can't lose that feeling of creativity. And like, he would process that out loud, that he wanted to move forward, but yet he didn't want to lose all of those great qualities about being a kid.
Well, because it's the childlikeness versus the childishness.
Ooh, say that again.
It's the childlikeness versus the childishness.
Ooh, quotable. Okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, because childishness is like, you throw the temper tantrums and you get jealous, and you're a 2-year-old, and that's mine. And you get
and
really
that's
angry.
not even about age. I know adults that do that, right?
But they're very childish.
Yes, exactly.
And we call them childish. But, but you have this childlikeness, and this is the wonder in your eyes. You're very open to things. You're curious, with these experiences, and you have this love in your heart. That's the childlikeness. And that's, in the creativity too, and that's a great thing to strive for always.
And I think curious is a great thing to talk about as I look at what I'm coaching and trying to help, is for people to be more curious about the things in their business, about their relationships. To me, curiosity is a key trait that gets you in. It also pushes to the discomfort zone sometimes, right? But if you follow that curiosity around, there's such interesting places that you'll end up. And if I'm thinking about teens and the folks that you're going to be working with, channeling the natural curiosity into something that's helpful and functional, because face it, I mean, sometimes, a 15, 16-year-old, their curiosity is going to take them down a bad path, right?
Oh, yeah.
But if you can channel it into something that still feeds that stimulus in their brain, but it's something that's far more productive.
Well, it makes you feel alive in a different way.
Yeah.
I have a friend, I love him to death. He was really excited because a lot of things in his realm were going great. And he's like had this like just brain high. He's like, Ava, is this what like acid feels like? Because like he's like, I don't even need it. He was so excited. He's like, Ava, great things are happening. I love this. And he was just on like a brain. I was like, that's so awesome. I was like, that's so awesome. I don't even know. I was able to do that too at like 5th grade. I didn't even know how. Just existentialism, man. It's awesome.
So that just triggers in that, you know, when you get your prefrontal cortex, it's a neuroscience thing. It really is. It taps into something that gets you excited and it feeds off that. I love that.
It's like adrenaline. Yeah.
You should make that into your marketing for your masterminds. I'm like drugs, only safer and something.
I'm like drugs, but productive. Adderall.
Maybe you should run that by your dad. I'm not sure he's going to go for that. But anyway, so another thing I want you to share, because I really want to learn about this too, is when I look at your podcast guest, and the name of your podcast is, tell everyone.
Mentorz with a Z.
Mentorz with a Z. Your guest list is legit. Like, it is not like the cool kid across the hall or even the best teacher at school. I don't mean that to sound patronizing. I mean that as a comparative reality, that you have really, really good guests.
Thank you.
So how does one wake up one day and, well, on a 7 or 11-hour car drive, I can't remember how long you said, but how do you go from, I want to do something different, to one, starting a podcast, which I know as of the last few months is no easy journey, and two, getting the kinds of guests that you have on the show? Yeah,
well, I don't tell this side story a lot, but honestly, that car drive was not the moment for me. Ooh, I thought it was a good idea, but at the same time, I didn't believe in it. I was like, that'd be so cool. But I was a little scared of it. But I'll always remember, the roundabouts, they have like trees and whatnot in them. It was fall, it was brisk, and I was reading under a tree in the middle of a roundabout outside of my neighborhood. And I finished the last page of this book called Likes versus Legacy by Mike Smith. Love Mike Smith. And I close it and I just realize.
It hit you then.
It was just, I didn't even remember what the word said. It was just beautiful epiphany. And I understood what this could be for me. I understood what this could be for others. I understood what the good it could do in the world and how much it could just advance. And I was so excited. I just, tears in my eyes, excited.
Oh, I love that when something hits at that level. So how long was it between the idea in the car and the epiphany at the roundabout? Do you know? Do you remember?
I don't know.
Months, years?
I have to say it was maybe like a month because it was on my mind and I was scared of it because I didn't know the potential reality of it. Because another thing Mike Smith was talking about is what's the worst can happen, but what's the best that can happen. And, the best is like, really skyrocketing. The worst that could happen is, you suck and you stop.
So what, right?
Yeah,
we
exactly.
suck at things all the time. That's part of being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
To get to something that's amazing.
Which is kind of the cool thing because I realized that I don't fear rejection. I don't fear it. It doesn't make sense to me. I learned the other day at a networking event that kids didn't want to be in areas where they didn't know anybody because they feared rejection. I was like, seriously?
No, that's a big thing.
Yeah, I didn't know. I never knew. So I was like, this makes a lot of sense. So that's why you go up to the podcast guest.
Though, because that's not, most adults even fear rejection. What do you think it is? Do you think that's a learned behavior, or is that just a trait that you were raised with in the way that your family interacts, that it just never entered your thought process?
Part of me thinks I was that unaware. Like, I think I was that
blissful unawareness.
I think seriously, I think I was, because the thing was, because I remember in elementary school, I was angry because other kids had friends. I was a little turd. I'm not gonna lie. I was the worst kid in elementary school. I was so mean. But like I was angry because I didn't have friends. And I was like, why? And it's because I was a jerk. And I had to learn. I learned really fast, so I'm not going to lie. But, after I learned that, how to be nice and how to treat people nice out of fear.
Whatever it takes to get to the next stage. Fear is a good catalyst for change.
It is. That's another great side story. But I think it's a little bit because how I was raised, and a little bit of the fact that I don't think I understood rejection and fear, because like middle school wasn't that awkward for me because I'd go up and talk to you. I would go up and talk to strangers. I actually went up and talked to a homeless man on the side of the road, and my friend said, don't do that. And I was like, why not? Why? So I think it was just that blissful unawareness, which is really cool. And so I think it's also something you can let go of. But yeah, I think that unawareness also helps me just talk to my guests because I feel like they're people.
They are people.
Yeah, well, because it was a huge difference because, there's some people that I idolize completely. But then I also have to take a step back, especially when I'm about to like record with them. And I'm like, you're a human being.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I treat them as a human being. And then everything fearful melts away because you realize that they're a person.
I love that. I love that.
And you approach them like a person too.
So when you're thinking about who you want to have on as a guest, you literally just call them up and say, hey, my name's Ava, 17, got a podcast. You should be on.
In some ways, sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
But not calling. Usually, like on LinkedIn or like you try to find their email or you try to find their phone number.
Well,
in any way you can.
Call is a generalized term at my age, but you're like, call. When's the last time? Okay.
Oh yeah.
I get it. And actually, I hate it when people call me on the phone. So okay, I'm just old school. Go ahead.
I got you. No worries. But yeah, any way I can try to get into contact with them, I do. And usually, there's like a couple factors that play into it. Hey, I'm 17. Here's my mission. I want kids to know about you. And I not only do I want kids to know about you, I want them to learn from you. Mm. I want kids to look up to you. I think you could lead this. I think you could lead this new generation if they know about you.
That's great.
And so people are automatically interested.
Because you're taking your mission and you're intertwining it with their mission. I mean, that's the greatest part of connection ever. Yeah. When you can co-mission together. Yeah,
well, because it's like help people, help youth.
Absolutely. So a key way that you are reaching out and connecting with people is on LinkedIn. You have a huge presence on LinkedIn. Tell me about your experience and how you're using that and how's that going and what's happening.
LinkedIn's been phenomenal. The people I've gotten to meet I love the people on LinkedIn. Very supportive group, very kind group, very helpful group.
Way different than Facebook or Snapchat, or it's like the legit place to connect. A little. Yeah. Although I do like me some Instagram, so I'm not a hater.
I know, I feel for that. But, it's a great community, and they're all, not all, I can't say all, but, they're all just very different minds and experiences, and they want to help, especially when you're 16, 17, 18.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in your 20s as well. They like that. So coming onto the platform as young as I was and excited as I was and wanted to do something, I caught wind. I didn't know that was going to happen, but caught wind very fast. And most recently, LinkedIn has taken me some really cool places.
Yes, tell them about your most recent trip. So, okay, let's before we even go there, because I feel like that's a little bit of a finale kind of thing. So LinkedIn, in case some people aren't as active on it as you are, and myself and most of the folks that I'm interacting with, LinkedIn is a great place that you can go find people who are interested in similar things as yourself, right? Mm-hmm. So through hashtags or searches, and you are putting out content so that it's not just that you have a profile on LinkedIn where if people accidentally find you, or if you send them a message, that they can go read your profile, which is great. You're actually putting content out onto the platform and interacting with people. So tell a little bit about the videos you do and the interaction that you're having, and then we'll build up to where that's taking you, because that's amazing.
Yeah, well, a lot of this is the cool thing about LinkedIn. LinkedIn in itself is not very, but it's a little anti-filter. It's a lot anti-filter.
Say more about that.
So a lot of times on Instagram or on Facebook, you put on a face, you put on a show.
Oh, literal filters.
Yeah. You put on literal filters. LinkedIn doesn't like that. Mm-hmm. You can have, and again, I love it too. I mean, you can have like a really nice backdrop, you can have subtitles, you can have it all, and you look great. People like that. But what people like more is raw footage.
Yeah.
Agreed. Everyone's fan of subtitles. I don't have subtitles yet, but they like the raw footage. They like the journey. They like the story. They want to understand you and get to know you as a human being, not your persona. So
a lot of my videos are just sitting in my car in between appointments and just random what's happening. Yeah,
exactly. And everyone likes that because it's showing who you are, and it's showing your ups and your downs, and it really allows you to connect with your audience. And I don't know if this was the reason, but I think that's why my audience connected with me so fast, because they saw potential, and they also saw a friend, or at least someone that they can understand.
Just being authentic, being yourself.
Really being authentic. So that's what all my videos are. I mean, for me, it's just it's my phone camera. I'm like, hey guys, I just want to tell you about what's happening right now. And that usually is helpful, because then you get advice and you get a support group. And then, or sometimes you get criticism, and that's okay too. Like seriously, LinkedIn has criticism, but it's good.
Well, I just did a podcast on the difference between feedback and affirmation. So feedback is a way that you put yourself in that situation to get a little uncomfortable because you need the criticism to grow, right? Sometimes you need affirmation, but you got to be able to know what you want and why you want it and ask for the right thing at the right time, right? So feedback is great. And I do love that people are willing to really give that real feedback. It's not, I feel like when I get comments on LinkedIn, it's not smoke and mirrors. It's not like Facebook where everybody loves everything and, you know, your grandma and your aunt and uncle are all like, oh yeah, that's super cute, whatever. LinkedIn, people will tell you what they like about the video or they'll tell you what they like about what you're doing. And it's helpful to me.
Well, it is because you want to know. You want to know you're doing right. And you want to know you're doing wrong too. So, and it's been great. And it's been giving me a lot of opportunities.
Who are some of the people that you look up to on LinkedIn that are doing a great job of that you've reached out and connected with and just said, hey, I like what you're doing and made some connections? There's
been a lot. I mean, you know, Kurt Mercadante is awesome. I like Kurt Mercadante a lot. Very real guy. Straight up with you. I love that. It's awesome. Quentin Allums is a little more relatable because he's closer to my age, and he's also having his whole startup thing. So it's fun to watch his journey and get to talk to him, get to know him. Right. Vin Thormeyer is a fun guy to learn from and listen to. He's very comedic, and I mean there's a whole slew of women. I mean, I can't remember all the names. I know like Amy Perkin was a huge one, and then her and her friends and. But there's been a lot of people in the LinkedIn community in my life that have really shown that I have promise and this is real. Because again, like that imposter syndrome or like that self-trash. I mean, a lot of it's me being like, this is stupid or this isn't going to work out or this doesn't make sense.
Anybody that's willing to courageously let themselves be uncomfortable to start their own thing is going to have it. I have it. You have every person I know who's done something courageous has it.
Yeah. And you just have to push through it. And a lot of people on LinkedIn have shown me that this is worth it.
Yeah.
And this is what is needed.
Yeah.
Or this is what they want. And I mean, I have a very big outreach of mothers being like, I want this for my girl.
Yeah.
I want this for my son. And so finding a way to provide that is a fun journey too.
Absolutely. And I think what's so different about LinkedIn is I often have referred to social media, when I'm talking about connections, I call it a counterfeit connection. And I think when you're 14, 15, 16, 17, and you're simply counting the number of likes or shares about something, that's counterfeit connection. That's where you're looking for some external validation of something that you've filtered and put out into the world, right? What LinkedIn is, and what I think your experience is, a more authentic connection with people that you wouldn't have met otherwise living in our community. But because of this platform and because of the intention that you had behind it, you're able to connect with them in a more meaningful way that you wouldn't have had otherwise.
Exactly. And I mean, that's where cool things are happening. Because not only is it local, it's global. I mean,
one of the first trips that I saw that you were taking before you went global is we've mentioned your dad a couple of times who teaches an innovation class in entrepreneurial endeavors and has a started up foundation that's amazing. You should look that up, listeners. And through that, he took some students, including yourself and others, to New York City not too long ago.
Yes.
Yeah. So who did you get to meet when you went to New York?
Yeah, so some of the highlights, right? It was awesome. New York was an amazing experience. I'm
not gonna lie. I asked your dad. I'm like, can I just like carry luggage, or I'm willing to like do whatever. Can I go?
Can I be a chaperone?
He didn't invite me, but I asked.
I'm so sorry.
There you go.
I'm sorry. I should put in a word for you. So I mean, by far, some of the biggest highlights were the CMO of Barnes & Noble's, the founder of Charity Water, Scott Harrison.
Oh, I love him.
And Seth Godin, the man himself.
I know,
Seth
the man
Godin.
himself.
I know. And I felt so bad, but I was the only one to get pictures with him because right as he got out, like right after he got done talking, he had to leave. And I was like, okay,
no fear.
Okay, a little part of me knew. And I sat and I made sure that like everyone kind of like lined the tables, like the vertical sides, the longer sides. But I had a feeling, and I was like, you know what? I'll sit kind of near the front of the table and see what happens.
Because he's got to get out the door somehow.
Exactly. And I was like, but it was the far end of the door, so I didn't know for sure. And I was like, maybe there's a half chance, but I feel like there's where the food is, so he doesn't. So maybe, and he does, and he sits down right next to me. And the first 10 minutes was me just trying not to hyperventilate. I was like, this is my hero.
But here's what's funny. Your hero is a bald guy that lives in New York City who's written 40 books on marketing or something. I don't know exactly how many. I'll put that in the show notes. Most people your age, their hero would have been some YouTuber or somebody that was on, something way different. You're hyperventilate. I'm gonna pass out because I just met Seth Godin. Cracks me up.
You should have seen me.
A funny little bald guy.
Oh no! You should have seen me with my. I had to do a podcast with Tom Bilyeu. I haven't even released it yet. I'm going to January 1st. I was so scared. Every time I talk and ask a question and then he would start talking, because I was in a closet, I was standing up, I would just dip down and breathe. And I'm like, you're fine.
Remote. Like he wasn't in the closet with you, right?
No. Yeah.
We're in the closet together in my podcast studio. So.
I was just so scared. And I was like, that's his voice and he's here. And I've heard this is like since, it was so funny.
I love that.
It was such a mess. But I was less than a mess with Seth Godin. So we're happy.
And there were other students your age that were there and having a very similar experience.
Oh, we were all.
I mean, the network effect of that. When you all got back and started posting and sharing, it was contagious. I mean, all of us that were following it were just cheering for the whole thing. So New York City, that was pretty big. Yeah. And then recently you have gone global.
Yeah.
So talk about that trip.
Spoke on education at the United Nations. That rhymes a little bit, but yeah.
Cow. I mean, just let that sit for a minute. Seriously. Yeah. So a year ago, if somebody would have said to you, hey, Ava, I think next year you're probably going to go speak at the United Nations. You're like, I've got swim practice. Like, what are you talking about, right?
I was like, I don't think I can swim to Sweden yet. Yeah. So, I would have laughed.
So within a year.
Less than a year. So
the epiphany from the reading the book and the roundabout to now is less than a year.
Yeah.
You went from, I'm going to do this. Ooh, I have chills right now. You went from, I'm going to do this, sitting in a small community in Indiana. I mean, this is not a hotbed of Fortune 500 activity here where we live,
it's
right?
About to be.
It's about to be. You are going to change that. I can see it. But you went from this, I have a dream, if I'm really going to be crazy about it. And now, less than a year later, you were at the United Nations. You're giving keynote speeches. You're talking to influencers. Like, that's phenomenal. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. I wouldn't call them keynote speeches, not just yet.
Well, but why not? I mean, you've done a couple of talks, right? Where you've gone and spoken to people.
I mean, actually 3 as of right now because because of school. And honestly, just recently, I've been picking up wind in the speaking community. Actually, last Saturday, I went down to Milwaukee and had a speaking gig for their Milwaukee Started.
So I can call that a keynote speech. I foresee you on the TED stage before too long.
Oh gosh,
Let's just put that out in the universe. Hey, TED speaker.
Well, no, I think I have a friend. He's amazing. He texted me a while ago. He's like, hey, I kind of like maybe signed you up for like a TEDx talk. And
nice.
I was like, no, you didn't. He's like, I might have. And so maybe that's going to happen.
See, I think it should happen. I did a TEDx talk about 7 years ago, and it has been a huge catalyst for my career because it is a reputable kind of external validation that, you must be legit enough that TEDx let you talk. So
it's like a nice check mark. Because again, if people don't, that's bad terminology. But if people don't know, right? Then no one will know, and that's the problem.
Absolutely. Oh, are you kidding? I put that on every profile everywhere. It's like I'm going to get a T-shirt. Hey, I did a TEDx. Actually, my daughter was teasing me. She's 17 as well. She was teasing me the other day because when her friends or people say, "Hey, what does your mom do?" It's not like she's a nurse or a fireman or something. I mean, I'm a consultant, I'm a writer, I'm a speaker. She's like, it's just not a normal job. So she goes, I don't know what to tell them. So I just tell them you did a TED Talk and they think you're cool. I'm like, okay, that'll work. So it does. It gives me a little cred with my daughter as well.
I feel for that. I have to do it with my dad. And they're like, what's your dad doing? I'm like, oh, stuff. That's the best part about LinkedIn. That's the best part. So funny. People hit me up and they'll be really nice to me. They're like, oh my God, do you want to do this? You want to work on that? How can I help you? And I'm like, do you know my dad? And they're like, no. And I'm like so happy over it. I'm like, yes, you don't know who he is. I love this.
I got this on my own.
Yes, I love my dad. I love my dad.
Everybody does.
I love my dad, but me doing it on my own. That's honestly been a really big criticism, especially locally, is people always say, well, you just got this because your dad. You're just so, just because your dad. And this is so unfair.
I didn't call your dad and ask if you could do this podcast. I called you.
Exactly.
Okay, I didn't call you. I messaged you on LinkedIn. I'm going to stop saying that I called you. I'll probably never call you.
Don't
FYI.
worry. No, don't worry. Don't worry. It's too.
I get that.
It's too 2000 and late.
Yeah. But I get that though, and I think celebrities, you can point to celebrity situations like that too, where they feel like, I'm talented in my own right, and I don't want it to be that people say it's because of my parents. So loud and proud.
Yeah, and because you do all the work yourself. I mean, are some of the people? Do my dad know? Yes, but do I directly do the hard work and ask and do the Yes, I do all of this work, and I don't want it to go undermined. And also, every student my dad has the exact same opportunity I do. Every one of them. Yeah. So them going off to the UN, them, them having these. Well,
anybody has the opportunity, right?
Oh, definitely.
Anybody could sit and all of a sudden read a book and say, I am going to start something, whether it's a podcast or whether it's a business or. Everybody has the ability to start.
That's something. The beautiful thing, the equal opportunity. Mm-hmm. We all have the ability to do it. It's just who's going to take it.
Are we going to capitalize?
Exactly.
That's kind of a mic drop moment, don't you think? So the message for today is just start something, right?
Oh,
see
definitely.
What
happens. Don't have no fear in it.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. All right. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I'm not coming down.
Isn't she great? Oh my gosh. I hope you will go and follow her on LinkedIn and also check out her podcast, Mentorz with a Z. And I will put the links to both of those in the show notes as always. And I'm going to give you a little challenge as a result of today's episode, which is similar to the reflection questions that we typically do, but this one is more around connection. I'd like for you to engage in a conversation with a young adult, teenager, middle schooler, someone close to you in your life, and ask them about their unique gifts, talents, hobbies. What are they really interested in? And then listen wholeheartedly. I find that adults will dismiss some of the ideas that teenagers have with the comments, you're going to have to get a quote unquote real job. When the fact of the matter is, many of the careers that the high school students today will be in don't even exist yet today. And we can't always expect the basic categories of jobs to be what's available to them. That's just not the truth. I've said oftentimes that not all of our beliefs are truths. There are people making money on YouTube. There are people that are making money designing video games. So my son used to get a little bit of flack when he would talk about entering the video game industry. He's now a songwriter and pursuing things in the music industry, but I could see adults just roll their eyes like, oh, the kid just likes to play video games. He needs to grow up someday and realize that he's going to have to get a real job. Well, you know what? Video game creation is a real job, and it makes significant money. So I just challenge you to listen wholeheartedly to young adults, teenagers in your life, and realize that they have unique gifts and talents, and they are creating industries that don't even exist today. All right. Again, I got on my soapbox again. Sorry. All right. Make it a great day.
I'm not coming down. I never left it on the ground. I'm not coming down.